Hey guys, it's Dad with Dad's Guide to Adulting. I hope you're doing well and that you're having a great day. Today we're going to talk about the process of renting a car and the things you need to know when you rent a car. There are four areas that we're going to talk about. The first is what you do ahead of time when you rent the car online or on the phone. Second thing is what you do when you pick it up. The third is driving the car, and the fourth is returning it. There are different things you need to know and should do at different stages. First off, renting the car ahead of time. One of the things that you need to know as a young adult is that some rental car companies have age limits. Most rental car companies won't rent cars to people under 21. They will also charge you an additional fee if you're under 25. There's not much you can do about that. It's just something you need to know ahead of time. They also obviously will require you to have a valid driver's license. Most rental car companies will also require that you have a credit card. Some of them will not accept a guaranteed credit card, which we talk about in our videos on financing. Guaranteed credit card is one where you put money on file. It's usually the first credit card you get to make sure that you pay the money back. Since you have less of a credit history there, less of a history paying off your debts, that can present more risk to the credit card company, and therefore it presents more risk to the rental car company. So they usually will require that you have a normal credit card rather than a guaranteed one. For the same reason, they oftentimes don't want you to use a debit card. A debit card will actually sometimes result in you getting additional charges from the rental car company because you are a greater risk. In addition, they also will end up putting a hold on your checking account when you use a debit card for the full amount of the car rental and the security deposit, and that may mean that cash that you have in your checking account that you want to use is not available. So it's a very good idea to use a credit card rather than a debit card to rent the car. Next, we need to talk about location of car rentals. Where do you get them? Well, the most important thing to keep in mind there is that the location affects the price. Some places are more expensive than others. For example, if you fly and decide to rent a car, if you pick it up at the airport, you're going to pay a higher amount for that convenience. It might make sense for you to find out if there's a rental car location that's close to the airport, take a quick Uber over there, and you may save money because the amount that you pay for the Uber is less than the amount you may save by renting the car in that other location. Another thing you have to keep in mind is watch out for drop-off charges. When you rent a car in one place and then drop it off at another, they typically charge you a large amount. So make sure you're careful about that fee. If you can return it at the same place you rented it, that's always a good idea. Another thing you should ask about is insurance at the very beginning, whether you should get that. It is usually not a good idea to buy insurance from a car rental company. It tends to be very expensive. Before you go rent the car, you should check with your own auto insurance company to see if they provide insurance for use of a rental car. In most cases, your insurance company or your carrier will provide insurance coverage to you while you're in what's called a replacement car. You'll want to know if you have liability coverage, meaning if you hurt somebody else, does that coverage apply? And also damage coverage, so that if you damage the rental car, it applies. Ask your insurance company, give them a phone call, or check the policy before you go. If you don't get insurance for the rental car through your own auto insurance that already exists, you can also check with your credit card company. Sometimes the credit card company will offer insurance on the rental car as long as you use that credit card to rent the car. That can help you save some money. One thing you also want to do is minimize the number of drivers. The less drivers you put on the contract, the less the expense. You also want to avoid renting a fancy car. It's tempting when you're going to rent a car to think you may get a Lamborghini or something else really fancy for a while. Don't do it. They tend to be much more expensive because they're much riskier if you damage them. All you really need is wheels to help you get around for a bit. So find a smaller car that fits the total number of passengers that you're going to need. As long as it's safe and has a good safety rating, that makes more sense to go smaller. Also, check on discounts. When you're renting a car, some rental car companies offer discounts for certain age groups or with frequent flyer programs for airlines. Sometimes when you book your ticket at the airline, you may also be able to get a discounted rate at a credit card company. So check on that. You can also save money by doing a rental car loyalty program. If you go to one company over and over again for the same car rentals, rather than switching companies around, you can join their loyalty program and you may get rewards points, which you can use for cash back or for lower discounts, or maybe even a free car at some point when you get going. When you rent the car, also, make sure you get a confirmation number. It sometimes happens that the person that you are talking to on the phone or whoever's handling the processing of online application may misspell your name, misspell the location. Something may go wrong. If you have a confirmation number, it confirms you made the reservation, and if you show up there and your car is not ready, or worse yet, is not even there, then the rental car company should have some obligation to take care of you, either financially or by arranging for another car. If you don't have a confirmation number, that can be a problem. Next, second of the four things, we're going to talk about picking up the car. Make sure you take your driver's license and your credit card with you. And then expect them to pitch you a bunch of extras. When you're signing the paperwork, the rental car company is going to offer you lots of different things. They will say that you might want to use an Easy Pass. They can put it on the dashboard or the front windshield. That's a nice convenient thing, but it may be more expensive to have them pay the tolls than pay it for yourself. So don't accept too many extras. Stick with the basic price because that's all you really need to get around. You're also going to want to videotape or photograph the car, both when you pick it up and when you return it. Take your camera on your phone, turn it on, walk around the car with a little videotape on it and note any dings, scratches, dents, so that the rental car company doesn't try to charge you for those when you return the car later. If you've told them that there's a problem with the car before you leave with it, make sure it's noted on the contract and have them initial it. The front bumper is damaged. Make sure they do that and initial that. Don't drive out of the rental car company's office the wrong way. They have these massive spikes that they typically put on these roads to prevent cars from leaving. It'll puncture your tires. Make sure you go out the right way. All right, third, so now we're going to talk about driving and using the car. Two real points there. Number one, never put someone behind the wheel who is not an authorized driver. When you rent the car, you're going to put a list of drivers on the contract who are authorized to drive the car. That'll be you, presumably, and if you've got another passenger who's an adult, you can add them if you choose to do that, as long as the rental car company accepts it. If you rent the car and allow someone else who is not an authorized driver to drive it, you could have a lot of liability. For example, if there's a car accident, if they cause injuries to other people, if the car is damaged, if they get speeding tickets, a variety of things can happen that are problematic, so don't do it. Second thing is, be smart where you go. If you've got a car that is meant for paved roads, don't take it off-roading or on the beach or anything else where you may cause damage to it. Fourth, returning the car, the last part. One of the things you need to know is that rental car companies will charge you an arm and a leg to gas up the car. They offer you all sorts of packages when you rent it about prepaid gasoline and they'll fill it up. Don't do it. The car should be full when you pick it up, and then you should find a gas station close to the place that you're returning it. Fill it up within 5 or 10 miles of that location before you return it. When you leave the location, look around for gas stations and see if you can find one. Of course, you can always find one on your phone. But always return the tank full so you don't get a bunch of extra charges. Also be careful to make sure that you look at the return time on your contract and not just the date. When you have a rental car agreement, it will say the amount of time that you have to rent the car, and it'll usually say both the date and the time that you're supposed to return it. You don't want to show up at 5 o'clock on that day, find out that the contract said you were supposed to return it at 10 a.m. and have to pay for a full another day. And then finally, when you drop it off, just like you did when you picked it up, videotape it really quickly, go around it, make sure there are no dents and damages. That's our video on renting cars. I hope that was helpful. We'll see you next time. Until then, remember, you got this.